Started the recording, so why is that up
It shows up.
there? Oh, okay. Yeah, need to do it on this computer.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Here we go. All righty, welcome to this July meeting of the Hampton Ship Model Society. Let's see. We have some guests today. Let's start with our guest in front of me here. Hello, welcome.
Hello.
Will you please introduce yourself and say a word or two?
Do I need to stand up or?
Nope, you're on the screen. You're good.
Daryl Patterson. Typically, I'm nervous in front of new people, but I have two things in common already. One of those are I build ship models, and the other one is I know this fine gentleman right here, Gene. Word choice.
Yeah.
So he's asked me a couple times to come check it out, so here I am.
All right, welcome.
I live in Suffolk.
Okay. All right, well, thanks for joining us.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see, other guests we have online without video, Joseph Ficklin. He joined us last month. I think he was also in Suffolk. Unless I'm getting names mixed up. Here you go. Skipper's always good.
You want me to give an introduction?
Well, if you wish, you gave one last month, but we can do it again.
Oh, never mind then.
Everyone was here, so it might help. Yeah, please do.
Well, my name is Joseph Ficklin, and I live in Suffolk, Virginia. And this is my second time attending a meeting of the Hampton Roads Model Ship Society, and looking forward to seeing what everybody's got to show today. I'm working on a little Viking longship from Dusek.
This is the guy who said that he's just getting into it, but he's already built 4 or 5 models in the last 6 months or something. So he's pulling one over on us, I think. Any other guests? Mort? Oh,
Mort
okay.
Stoll, New Jersey Ship Model Society.
Yep, Mort's a frequent visitor. Glad to have him back, as is Joe. Hello, Joe. Joe Lorenzo.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear. And okay, who do we have in the back of the room? Oh, hello, that's right. We met you on the way in.
Yeah, I'm John Jones. I'm retired Navy up to 20 and retired up to 25 more teaching middle school special needs kids. I built a Sea Adler a long time ago and about halfway through the Constellation. So now comes the hard part, it's the rigging of this thing. So I'm now my wife wants me to find more things to do. So I'm here working on my models, trying to stay out of her way.
She retired.
She is retired too.
Bad news.
That's a very big. All right, well, welcome. It's good to have you. So if that's it for guests, any additions or corrections to the minutes? All right. Okay, treasurer's report.
Yeah, I guess I better come up front where you can hear me.
The microphone picks it up pretty well, but move around if you wish.
Okay, we started the month out with $4,836.35. $717.36 at the end of June. And we still have 9 members that owe dues. I've sent out emails, but received no response, and so letters will be going out to those members. Our membership is 45 regular members, 5 associate members, and 1 honorary member. So 51 members total.
Okay, and that brings us to a long while back, I showed everyone George Livingston's models that I added to the website, and a lot of them were unnamed. People gave me some names or tentative names. So I tentatively added Newsboy to one of them and Hannah to the other. Lacking kit information, I tried to search for on the web for matching kit to the model, but didn't quite make it. So if you feel like taking a look, you can help me out. And that is it for the webmaster's report. And that leads us on to old business. I will start it off. So actually, Beth just walked into the room, our liaison with the museum. So we're gonna skip to one bit of new business so that she can speak and get out of here, unless you're planning to stay anyway.
I wasn't gonna stay too long, I have kayaking.
Okay, let's get Beth first then. So let's see which camera has Beth in it. This one
Oh, I
does.
don't need to be on camera. There's so
Okay,
many people here today, this is great.
okay, Beth, take it away.
Okay, Brian,
Or do you want me to give an intro to the subject, or are you gonna take care of it?
you go ahead.
Okay, so an email went out a week or two ago about some of the equipment in the shop, and I think it was a bit misinterpreted, perhaps.
I think we're okay. What mainly the email, and I know I'm only talking to a few of you here, because of not all of you are in the shop. But mainly it was a declutter issue with some boxes and they're gone. I think Ron maybe took care of that. Somebody did. And the shop looks great. My main thing is, I'm wondering about more shelving, cabinets, anything else that you all in the shop need. I don't know who I'm talking to. You.
Raise your hand if you're a docent.
Yeah, raise your name. And can you tell me?
John.
John. Okay, John. I know Ron, I know John, another John. I know, don't tell me, Stu. No, Tom. Help me. Dennis Hobbs, okay. See, that's what I gotta give you. Is Stu here? No, Stu's not.
He's online.
He's online.
Hi, Stu.
Doesn't have video, but
Oh,
she might be
maybe
hearing
you can
it.
hear me.
Yeah, I'm here. I can hear you.
Who's the one I'm missing?
Dave Baker,
Well, I saw him. Is that it?
John Cheevers.
John Cheevers. Yep, that's him. Here he is.
Yeah, I'll raise my hand.
Greg's are open. Okay, well, anyway, just in thinking about what you need back there, if you need more cabinets, there are bookcases in the old volunteer lounge downstairs that are about this high, and there's lots of them. So if you all could utilize one of those for your books or magazines or whatever you need it for, reference things, you're welcome to just tell me which one you want, and I will have it put over there for you wherever you want it. On the big wall, Dave said maybe at one time you wanted a banner. There was like possibly a banner going to go up.
Well, we have those, we can retain those placards from the exhibit we had that had the modelers' photographs, and they're standing up inside there.
Yeah,
On
Ron
off to
showed
the
me
side.
that, and Ron
Okay.
and I've been talking about that. You showed me those. Those are nice.
It is kind of remanufactured so that they show one person model maker. And that, just for the few of us who work in the model stand, that would be on display, today's model makers, John, with that part of it. But all of the rest of the guys should be recognized also, so we can use the
Yeah,
whole.
I think originally we were just thinking of just running it like a banner
Yeah.
across the top or something in the back above all the shelving, just kind of a border or something, I
I like
don't
that
know.
idea. Yeah.
Gives a more personal touch.
Yeah,
I
just put some
okay,
faces
and
to it.
if that's what's decided, that's fine. I'd still like, because we've been working on this and thinking about it a long time, this is the modeler today.
I do.
Oh, yeah, no,
like
they
that.
can have
But this is starting.
Even if it's just in the window.
If we're
And we
missing
do
a
have
road,
the
then
pictures of
maybe-
everybody.
I do. Some of the pictures I'd like to redo. If you'd like a new photo, we have a photograph, a photographer on staff, and I'd love to also have like a group shot of the modelers, a group shot to put in the case or something that are of the model. If I could get you all here one day by, just one at the same time, I could get the photographer Brock to do some photos of you all. I put the photos in a very loosely looking, not very professional, one, the bulletin board and the new volunteer lounge. And then I think I gave you one to put in the model stand. So at least our staff can identify who you are and your names, try to get to know you, and our docents. And I also wanted to bring that up. So the book, if there is a bookcase that you would like, it's yours. So just tell me if you want to go by the old lounge afterwards. You can even put a Post-it on it with the model's name and just say model shop, and I'll get it moved Monday morning. The other thing I wanted to mention was the Howard meeting once a month. I think I sent you all an invite. We don't do that by Zoom typically, so I know sometimes it's not a good time for you. It is usually on a Thursday morning once a month. It's not the same Thursday every month. It just depends on Howard's calendar, but it is a really good meeting because he gives us a little bit of a financial background of what's going on in the museum, so it's quite interesting. I know John was there the other day. And I think it does help to know where we're at. He showed us how much our debt had decreased during COVID, which is pretty impressive, and which is not the norm for companies. So I think it's very nice to know, since you all are working with the public, because I don't know how many of you get the question. We get it in the galleries, and we get it up front every day. How can you afford to be $1? How can you do that? And everybody asks us that. And so we always want to talk about, because for one, it's everybody's collection, and we want everyone to be able to afford to get in here. But obviously, we're not rich, so we want them to understand that there is an endowment that's been made for that donors and partners are putting into that fund to help us be $1 forever. So it's not just that giant. I think you all know about the Batten gift. I know the people from the Farm Store Society do. So that and 10 million, we got 5 of it. The only way we get the second 5 million is if we raise 5 million, right? So we're doing that now. But that certainly did help us. What helped us in COVID also is the government's pay protection plan. We had 2 of those. The first one was has already turned to a grant, which is fabulous, which means we don't pay it back. The second one is we're 98% sure it will be turned into a grant. We've already put the paperwork in to prove that we have not gotten rid of any of our staff. We've kept everybody on. And so therefore that will be turned into a grant as well. So those have really been helping the museum along during this time. And then of course, us not being here and not spending anything has helped as well. So I think that's all I was going to cover. Does anybody have any questions for me?
You
Yes.
said something about perhaps opening up space in a shop. if
We
need.
did. So if anybody is interested in really our wood shop, I don't know if any of you have ever been back there. I know some of you probably have. It's big. So if you know where Boiler Row is in the back, so, all right, let's just say this, behind Small Craft Center. So if you're in Small Craft Center, in the back is offices and then this big wood shop back there. And that's where all of our displays are made for our gallery. So Exhibit Design runs that wood shop, and it's a beautiful wood shop. At least I think it's really cool. It's got lots of space in it. And there's a room in the very back of it with a door that locks, that we had a volunteer years ago that passed away, that was his room. And it's taken a long time, I think, for Chris Bowl to actually come around. And when I mentioned having that space for volunteers or for the model shop, he said that's a great idea. It's time we utilize that space. We let some other people get in there. So I think it was a personal thing for him, and he was using some of it for storage. So he wants to do some cleanup in there, and he wants to be able to open that up to people that want to do some kind of, that need space like that, obviously, for sawing, anything that would cause a lot of sawdust, which I don't think any of the saws in there now, right, John? I don't think the bandsaw dust goes up, right? Doesn't it go down?
Well, it goes around. They'll, just like all the rest of the pool.
But it tends to be heavier.
It's
dust.
contained in that
It's not
area
such
pretty well.
fine particles that drift around.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we were talking about it as a group. about getting a dust collector, shop vac, something, to hook to these things when we run them, so that we collect the dust right there at the source.
Right.
We just, a lot of the stuff that is going around as ideas kind of got put on hold when the COVID hit, and we haven't been there for 14 months. So, that's kind of where I am with my thinking. I don't know if I can explain that.
Right. Well, it's probably more convenient to do it right there, correct? Because you're doing it in front of the guest as well. I think that's kind of also a.
Yeah, my thought process is for demonstrating chip model making, we need to show
Yeah.
some of the dirtier parts too.
That's right.
Without, I understand, creating a huge mess in the museum. You don't do that. So,
I think when they put that space there, they were gonna put a hole in the wall. I don't know what stopped that.
Well, I kind of do. First, let me say, years ago, and I can't remember how long ago, it was recommended that we have a liaison to the museums. And I was chosen as that person, and I am very happy to do it. I spend more time in the museum than everybody except John Court. He's full-time, 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year.
No, he's not.
Is that right, Bruce? Yeah, sure. We talked about the dust collector, and in a sort of a committee with Priscilla, decided that it would involve boring through a bearing wall to put a dust collector in. Now, I know there are dust collectors that are completely self-contained, but that was a part of it. I think it should definitely be readdressed if we're gonna keep dusty machines in there. If you've been to Annapolis, the Academy Museum, and been back in their ship building area, it is huge, probably as big as this room, and it has several paint spraying booths and band saws and drills and the whole thing, and huge models back there. We don't have that kind of a setup. So I think our setup geographically is more geared to the fine work of building a model. The coarser work is absolutely necessary, especially if you're John Cheever and building the bread and butter type craft, as many of you do. But I'm not sure that's what would be most appropriate to present. Therefore, when I walked through with Priscilla and talked to Beth about it, we thought if we can find a space in that workshop to put the big tools, and then have Chris and the other guys' permission to go back there when we need to, and have them even help with their own tools. Chris helped me with the one of the 2 models I built for Jamestown, the museum acquired some years ago. And it's a comfortable space to work in. You don't have to worry about making a lot of noise and having customers wonder what you're doing.
Right.
So we proposed that. And when we went back to Bernie's room, Sheila just shook her head. Bernie, many of you knew him, I'm sure, worked with metal a lot, and he had a lot of his own tools back there. When he passed away, those tools went back into that room all kind of. So, but anyway, to me, that was the best idea, but whatever we decide, to put the heavier tools back.
Now, which wall were you talking about boring through? Because isn't there a utility room adjacent to the shop?
A utility room?
There's
Oh,
a
to the
door
gift-
there.
to
There's
the-
a door there.
The
What is
back
that?
door goes into the burning room.
No,
Well,
next
no,
to the model shop, there's a
right next-
door.
Yeah, right next to
I
the
don't know
model
what it's
shop,
for.
entrance to the steam gallery. There's a door there. And it's
Oh,
some
those are
sort of
maintenance,
like a utility room or
yeah,
something
your
in there.
maintenance.
Was that the wall you were talking about boring through, or were you talking about going externally?
Externally.
Well, if that's a utility room, why couldn't you put a collector in there or whatever? And it would be quiet because it would be in an enclosed space and just a little hole for a vent that you could pipe into
That's what
our.
I have at home,
Yeah,
a 4-inch hole.
Yeah.
Doesn't take anything.
so that might be an option.
I think there's a lot of self-contained options like that now that we should certainly consider.
There's something there.
But it would keep the noise down if it was in the separate.
Yeah, that way you could have the machinery in there, whether it's a vacuum or a small dust collector, and it would be quiet, and then all you'd have to do is plumb the piping to the equipment in our room.
You gotta think about how often we use the big machines anyway. If it were me and I were building bread and butter, I'd do the cutting at home and bring the block in for, finishing.
But there's always impromptu and something you want to cut small right then and there.
on that, not just doing the bread and butter.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, well, I'm not even thinking in my mind about something that will be classified as a dust collector. I'm thinking more of a shop vac,
Yeah.
small shop
So I think
vac.
these things come.
Dust all of the shop back together and
From all the factory sides.
Yeah.
Sign
Yeah,
it.
some soundproofing around it.
Well, I'm not sure.
It sounds like something we've got to have a forum on and make some decisions on our own and then,
And then let me know, yeah,
I'm
what-
not sure what you bring up to do it. So you run it while you're running your machine, the machine slides it back. Anyways.
Depends on the value. I've heard some. All right,
Yeah,
well,
whatever, and I was wondering also cabinets, I mean, is there a need for cabinets, like if you put, like when you walk in the door to the left, you've got that space that maybe you could put a bookcase, if you need like a closed door cabinet, like this,
a wall cabinet.
a wall
We've got the
cabinet.
underneath cabinets that are very spacious.
So that's
Alright.
that's just an idea for you guys to go around if you need any more storage space. I think Chad is gonna put the big box that's under the cabinet, under the counter, is got the tubes of, wood
Sticks.
yeah, that sounds like mine, that's right. But he was gonna put them on the back of that area of the showcase, so you could just pull out what you wanted instead of having to pull the box out. And that'll kind of clear that area out, but honestly, now that other is going on, I'll just say that Howard is a little bit, he's like this with everybody's area in the museum, and of course, a lot of departments are moving around now. But he does come through and say, so-and-so's apartment's got too much clutter. So he doesn't like clutter evidently.
Well, I admit, we had a lot more than we should have.
It looks great now. I mean,
Like John said, there's a lot of extra stuff that doesn't need to be there, and that could open up spaces. Can I ask a question of all the mile makers? If we get the bookshelf, which we can certainly get, we have a reference material, all that other stuff on the bookshelf, can we eliminate that plywood box? Would that be okay?
Which is,
I hear no.
I don't know what's plywood box.
Well, it's just an ugly plywood box with a bit hasp on it that holds it closed.
you're talking
And it's
about
under
the
the
one
word-
that's underneath
word
the
page.
edge?
Huh?
You're talking about the one that's under the carpet?
Yes.
Oh, actually, we can do that.
Okay, good. So we'll measure for a bookshelf and get it in there. That'll take care of that.
All right, so can I try and sum it up then, and then we can let that go and move on. There was a lot of junk, most of it's been removed, so that's thumbs up. If we need more storage space, there are cabinets available. If we need to create more space by moving tools out, space could be made available to us in the wood shop. If we want to keep the tools in there, we can talk later about some sort of dust collection possibilities. Do we need to form a committee to make any decisions, or do we just table that for now?
Dave,
I think,
Okay,
or maybe I'm not allowed to vote.
that's fine. I just wanted to, move it along and also not just brush it aside. So, we can form a committee if it's necessary, but if it's not, then we'll just move on.
Yeah, I think that's
Okay.
perfect. I think I just want to reiterate that the museum wants, we want you all to be happy in that space. So, and as an ending, Stu is going to miss Tuesday. So if anybody wants to join in on Tuesday and jump into that space on Tuesday, I did have a question for the team again. So one day, someone was on vacation and one of our staff members, Tim Kine, some of you might know him. He's a model maker at home and part-time, and he jumped in and was in the booth. Is that okay? Because I really felt bad after I said, and then is that okay with you all? He's got his own space and he's just, his own things. He's not utilizing any of the other, he's just utilizing the countertop and bringing his own stuff. Is that,
I don't have a problem.
does anybody have a problem?
Not only do I have a problem with it, he's helped us out from an IT standpoint, so it's kind of been gracious of us to deny it.
he does good work too. It's not on our line so much, but it's kind of futuristic stuff.
Yeah. And so Mitchell, you all have met him, and he's here with us just until September, and then he heads out to fight for our country. And so he might be an alternate as well this summer when someone is on vacation, or because he's doing a little bit of marketing himself, as you all know, I think, because he's been in meetings before.
This Tuesday, I'm unable to help you out. I'll be out of town.
Thanks for.
Don't we know somebody else on staff who's building a ship or a boat right now?
Me and Libby, I would not say a ship, I would say a little boat.
As long as it floats.
Yeah, so, yeah, I was gonna bring my boat to show you, and it's on the kitchen table, drying. I glued some holes, last night, filled in the rest of my holes, and I'm gonna do some sanding this evening. And, my dad is 85, is super excited about my new little model making, because he wants to help me, so, and his hands don't work well because of the stroke, so he supervises me.
You can be an alternate too.
Oh,
We'll
thank
put your name down.
I don't know what I would say, but, I don't know, I don't like being front and center. But, yeah, so thank you guys so much for being a great group.
All right, thanks for
All right.
coming in.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Yes. Tim, you had your hand up? Nope. Okay. All right, that covers that one. So that was kind of new business. Go back to the old, we'll call these Zoom meetings old business. I think it went reasonably well last month. I think I probably had a difficult time splitting my attention between the screen and the room. So if you think I'm doing poorly in that regard or any other way, let me know what we can do to improve the dual format that we've adopted.
I have one comment.
Sure.
And Greg, you know I love you, but the email said the bad news is that we're meeting here in the Monica classroom. I didn't like that beginning. This classroom is ideal for us, as will the Mullen Gallery be ideal for us and a lot better. But this ain't bad at all.
I didn't mean to, I'm sorry I insulted you or the museum. It was not my intent. The bad news was from a relative standpoint, because we thought that the other room was going to have better IT capabilities. So it was only from a relative standpoint. But noted. Okay, so last month I asked if anyone wanted to take over as the coordinator for presentations. No one's hand went up. So let me start not by resuming the request for someone to take over, just a poll. How interested are people in the presentations that we had most months in the past? Is it something that you want to keep going but don't want to get involved in, or something you don't care whether or not it continues? So please raise your hand if you want to see it continue.
Continue with presentations?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Okay, so most people want to see them. If they do, someone needs to step forward, and it's not gonna be me. I'm already permanent, semi-permanent webmaster and skipper for God knows how much longer. So yeah, we need a volunteer. I still don't see any hands going up, but it's on the table, so,
I'll be the default guy
okay.
until somebody else wants to do it.
Well, that's probably a bad strategy. Temporary things have a habit of becoming permanent.
I know this.
One of the-
Can we, I mean, one of the things, it's just the nature of the presentation. I mean, what kind of presentations are, available or acceptable?
I think we can think.
I mean, it's not just thinking ship model.
No, it's in the past, people have done how-tos. They have done research that they presented research that they've done, or historical.
Let's say if you come up with just a presentation of the history of the ship or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. People in
As
the
long as
past,
it's in the nautical.
Yeah. and people have done that in the past. They've presented research
I mean,
they've done.
there's, let's say, for instance, an expedition or something, that's interesting.
Yep. And people, when we've lacked anything else, if they had a historical video that they liked, they just plopped it in and we watched that. And then with Zoom, we've learned over the last year that we can get presenters from anywhere. So if you know of someone, or you know someone who knows someone who knows someone that is willing to get online and do a presentation, that's a possibility. The Ship Model Society in New Jersey and the Philly Club have gotten people from museums and other venues around the country to do presentations. So it doesn't have to come from within the club like it has in the past.
To me, one of the problems is that really only so many facets as far as making stuff. And
Yep.
you know how to have ready Plan King. But, you know, once you've seen it once or twice. you don't
Well-
learn much new stuff.
Some of us could use refreshers and some of us are new, so it wouldn't hurt to revisit those things on occasion, but we don't need a steady diet of that either. I understand what you're saying. So anyway,
Well, that should make it easier to come up.
yes, absolutely.
Shall I serve?
Yes, please, if you're willing to do so, and it's not only because your arm is behind your back, twisted really hard.
Two comments.
Yeah.
Gene, you passed around what's your talent sheet some time ago, a
Yep.
couple of years ago.
Oh, the modeler thing, the
Yeah,
model of the month thing?
where's your strength? What can you do well?
Yes.
And everybody answered,
Yeah,
if you still have that, could you email it to me?
It's in one of the logbooks,
Is it okay?
and I can find it if you want help.
If you would, and email it to me, I'd love it.
I know I wrote down procrastination, so that was my superpower.
You're doing fine.
You do have
I am a member of
It was
the.
written up in one of the logbooks.
Okay, I'll look through my archives. of
Okay.
things I have,
Excellent.
I got a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, Ron?
So I can do a presentation in October of the Northeast Joint Clubs Conference.
Okay.
I'm going to New London up there, so I can have photos and pictures.
See how easy this job is, Ron?
Yeah, it's okay. If you would forward that information to me, because I didn't bring a pen, I'll forget. what I wrote.
Right.
And I'm a lifetime member of HINSA, the Historic National Ships Association. I'm a lifetime member of ICAM, the International Congress of American Maritime Museums, and the International Congress of Maritime Museums, where I will be a delegate next year in New Zealand. And of course, the Mariners Museum and several other museums. So I'll have sources to speak and do the virtual presentations and everything. I guess my aim will be to keep it club-centered and to present those as kind of dessert.
Just a plug for the roundtable format for a lot of us with our time, other time commitments, and 15-minute presentations, a lot more accessible than taking an hour long. The roundtables
Yeah,
makes a great format.
right. And we tried it and there were some that went too long. Is that? So 15 minutes, short-term things. So you can circulate and get all of it. I thought the roundtable format was great, but need to be short things. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All righty.
And so he did a great job for, I
Yes,
think it's 20 years or so. So that's
9 years.
9 years.
thanks for keeping me straight. I should have said so. Tony, thank you very much for all that you did in the past. And
Yep. And as a presenter.
okay, auction. Tony, have you looked into?
Yeah, we have a date for the auction, 28th, remember, 28th of next month?
28th of August?
Yeah,
Okay,
I did tell you that, didn't I?
I misplaced it, forgotten it. Sorry.
Yeah, the 28th, of August, we couldn't get it on one of our meeting dates.
Okay,
Saturday is a very popular day.
yep,
So the 28th of August, and we can start at our usual time, so 9 o'clock for John. Yeah, we need to get there an hour early, it needs to set up. Yeah, so we'll start here. The actual time is to be out by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which I'm sure it will be. We'll have something else there.
Okay. You said we have to be out by,
By 3.
oh, that should be it. We've run long, but I don't know if we've run that long.
People will be pretty hungry about it.
Yeah.
Particularly Heights.
Yeah. So that would be a big shift. In the past, we've shifted our meeting date a week if we needed to do so in order to get a venue like this. Do we want to shift it that much, or we want to make this a separate event? Raise your hand for separate. Or
Instead of. the regular.
do we want to make the August meeting on the 28th? Raise your hand. 2, 3, 4, 5. Want to have our meeting on the regular date and have the auction on the 28th separately? Raise your hand.
We'll crack out, so we go ahead and move the meeting.
All right, we're gonna move the meeting. All right, so the August meeting will be on the 28th. Agreed? I don't see any, no dissents, okay. Any other old business? Yep.
I want to get into this piece here.
Oh, right. Yep.
Last month, since you mentioned, I mentioned that we had a lot of books. Instead of taking a lot of this limited auction time, we're going to have to auction off tons of books I think we have. I suggested to bring them in and just have a price on them. And then that was changed to, let's do more of a silent auction type format. So there's a lot of books here. For the bound books, even, I'm going to say this for the ones you brought too, for the bound books, if you're interested in the book, write your name on it, slip it in the book. Okay, and at the end of the meeting, whoever's name is at the bottom of that list owns the book. And what I would suggest is, if you're the first guy to write your name on the list, then your bid is $1. If you're the second guy, it's $2, and increase like that. And if you're the last guy, you pay whatever, however many names we can write on there. And if you want to nail your buddies, you can write several in there and then write his again. Raise money for this club. But that's the format I think we should do, and we can, and you guys feel free to browse these, I guess, during the intermission before the presentation today. And if you want the book, put your name on it, slip it in there. Now for this, I'm gonna ask Tony, for the magazines and some of the smaller periodicals, I don't know if we should go with the $1 deal. So it might be, if everyone's agreeable, if you're interested in them, I say take it, make an offer to Ron. What you think? Your name, Ron? Ryland, excuse me. Drinking too early today.
Starts with that arm.
If that's agreeable with everyone.
Yeah.
And then what goes, you take home, and what doesn't go, we'll bring back to the next meeting. But I won't be bringing a lot of these books to the auction. We'll just do it every meeting. That sound reasonable?
Yep.
Questions? Everybody got that?
Yeah, that's it. If we've got books at home that we were going to bring to the auction, should we just bring them to one of the meetings and do this with them?
Well, I would say let's bring them to the meeting. And now I will say this, there will be some books that I think I'd like to bring to the auction. That might be some of the more rare or the more unique books that deal with our subject matter, because it might bring more money at the auction than just, the $1 or $2 I'm expecting a lot of these books to go for. And, so what I brought here was, I don't think a cross section of any of those types of books.
Yeah, so the books that are ubiquitous, like everyone already has a copy of that, or it's a bit off topic, or
Yeah.
a bit,
Not to besmirch anyone, but Poland's Navy, 1918 to 1945.
yeah.
I
I was
mean,
about to
it's
say a
hell
bit
read.
esoteric, I think that
It's
one
a
fits the
hell
bill.
read and there's pictures, so.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
All right.
But if it was something, I'm looking at something like, in my mind, if we had a copy of Ronfeld, we'll call it ship model fittings or whatever it's called, would be something that I would think we might want to put in the regular auction.
And the nicer large format books like, Warfare in the Age of Sail kind of thing, that typically go for a bit more.
Yeah, something like that, something like that. Or if we have a copy of Frank Manstey's book, I think that
There's one there on the table. In
In
front of,
round table.
toward the front,
on this side. Excellent book. I recommend it. He was a member of the club. And this might be something that you guys might want to fight over. But anyway,
So you just want one magazine out of 20 or so. What I call it in that one magazine.
no, I think for the magazines and things, you're interested in it. I think it might be the Stampede. They might be able to get it and then offer Ryland some kind of an honorary donation.
Might also put opening bids on I have 2 copies of Greyhounds of the Sea, so one's gonna come to the auction, put an auction bid on.
I think there's one in the second.
We can use the other one.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
And I think maybe
I
over
didn't
time,
want to-
one of those type of books might show up here with a starting amount.
Up at 4, and then every name after that's an extra
So
$1.
if you don't put anything behind your name, we'll assume it's above. If you want to put more than that, go for it, guys.
Wrote your name in really big letters and took up the whole card.
Only an engineer would think of that.
Thanks for that helpful hint. Okay, let's see. Let's move that back. Full business, still on that, yep.
All right, just a reminder, August the 7th is Model Con on the USS New Jersey. I'm going up, I think, Jim's going up, Greg's going up, good. So it should be, you know, I think from what I've heard, Tom, have you heard anything from Josh about the number of models on display?
I haven't talked about ModelCon with him specifically, but I do know the last time I spoke with him, we were about at 90 models.
90 models.
Yeah, there's some really big ones coming. Of course, you know that.
Great.
All right. It's looking like we're going to be set up either on the fantail, which will be we'll have a tent, or in the wardroom. So it sounds like it's moving along pretty well. I'm expecting in the next week or two, you're going to be getting, if you registered and gave an email, he's going to get back to you with logistics. I think it's going to be a great day. There'll be tours for the participants, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So
That's great. Okay, and then the other thing is that on October the 2nd is the Northeast Joint Clubs Conference. I know that Hines and Henry are thinking about going up. I'm going, I've already made reservations. Gene's going up for that, and that's in London, Connecticut. And
I'm considering it also.
okay, good. That's the big show. That's normally it's held at the end of April, but we'll go up. A lot of us go up, and on Friday we'll go to Mystic Seaport and visit that, and then on Friday night a lot of us get together for dinner. And then, of course, Saturday is the show that runs from around 9 to 3. And it's about 5 or 6 clubs up north that put it on. This year it's put on by the Connecticut, I think it's the Massachusetts, the Constitution Club is putting it on. And it's, you know, I've sent out a link. If anybody wants any more information, just let me know. I'll be glad to get it to you. But 2 great shows coming up. It's a lot of pent-up demand for this type of activity. And, so we'll be seeing a lot of models here in the next 2 or 3 months. But I'll do a presentation. I'll even do one on the, I'll do the model con too, but it may be a while before we can present it due to auctions and picnics. And speaking of auctions, I guess picnic.
Yep.
That's on September 11th. You know, that's our meeting date. It'll be at the Newport News Park and show up at 10. And I hope we have a good turnout. The club will be next, let's see, we're not gonna be here next month.
All right, you can pass around what are you gonna bring with us?
Yeah, I guess I'll have to do it at the auction.
Or online?
Yeah, I can do it online. I may do that, so, but yeah, Yeah, that'll work, because I was do it next meeting, but we are not having a meeting, we'll have the option. So, but it should be a good event. Again, it's September 11th, so 9/11, you know, should hopefully, you know, it should be like all as usual for nice weather. That's all I've got to say.
Okay, thank you. Any other old business? All right, on to new then. We got an email from someone who was looking, we thought initially to rehome a almost complete model of the frigate Delaware. Turned out he was looking for someone to take on the commission to finish, which was mostly the rigging. When we thought it was looking for a new home, there was a couple people interested. When they found out it was just a commission, they appear to have lost interest. So if you should have gotten all that by email, but if you didn't, please know that someone out there looking for someone to finish the Delaware. It's mostly rigging. I think there's a bit of work to do on some of the outfitting as well. We had a number of model kits donated. Bob Moritz picked them up. So someone who passed away in Mechanicsville area. And at first, it looked like a lot of instructions were missing. Bob said that they were not missing, they were simply separated. So hopefully Bob's gonna be able to put the pieces together. A couple of them have started. Don't know about the others, but you know, auction material for next month. And that's all the new business I had. Is there anything else from the floor? Yes.
I've got a question. I just was under the influence or the impression that maybe Warner, I influenced, yeah, always under the influence. The impression that we're only allowed to have one model builder and a taco shop at one time.
That's not the museum's standpoint.
I'm
That
afraid
came
it
up
is.
when I spoke to Beth. That's not what she told me. She said there was a difference of opinion on that.
There's a written schedule of people in, and it says at the bottom, no one else is allowed unless approved by. So we certainly can put more than one person in there. Obviously, it's tight water, so maintaining this is not going to be, shouldn't be a problem. But
All right. Beth said that God, I'm having a mind blank. Mr. Hague does not have Howard Hague does not have a problem with having more than one person in there. I hope we're beyond the distancing rules. There was concern about people spending too much time talking to each other and not interacting with the guests. We can simply encourage people to not do that. I think they didn't, no names were named. No names were named. And it may have just been a one-time thing. I'm not trying to make a big deal out of it. I think it's a good thing because it allows people to work together and throw ideas back and forth. I think it's more of a positive than a negative, especially for us and even for the guests. They got two people to talk to, two people to learn from. Obviously, two is probably a practical limit space-wise, but I don't know that anyone ever needs or wants to have 3 or 4 or 5 in there. I will bring it up again with Beth, who is the liaison, confirm that, but that's my understanding is to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend money.
Great.
Yep.
There were 3 incidents. One of them unfortunately went to our website as a complaint.
Okay.
And one was almost insulting. And they happened, I had to say several years ago. I'm not aware of anything since. I have, however, seen non-members filling in when the model had to go to the bathroom or eat lunch or something like that. People who are not associated with the society, but are associated with the museum. But the main thing was having people, and somebody said, I thought this was Boys Club Day or something, having people in the shop working with each other, dealing with each other, having conversations, and pretty much ignoring our guests.
Right.
Two of the concerns were about that. Insofar as having two people there, again, I'll harken back to Annapolis, it can have like a dozen people working on chips, a lot of interesting things going on. There could be a couple of interesting things going on. One's working on a bread and butter model, another is working on a plank on frame model, whatever it happens to be. And it can certainly accommodate two people in that stand. Beth put up the schedule that I gave her, and Beth added no one else except approved by staff. So ask her if she wants to rescind that, and then we're good to go.
Okay, so if both John and Tim are approved, that seems to still fit the letter of what's written there, right? Didn't say only one person, it said only these
It
people.
lists the people per day. And
Okay,
then it says
oh,
anyone else.
per day,
Yeah.
okay. All right, yeah, she made it, her feelings pretty clear, and so I will ask her to revise that to reflect what she told me.
Then everybody will be in compliance.
Okay.
And it does make for a much more interesting thing for the visitor to say, well, you're doing it different. What are you doing? And it can certainly provoke.
And if
good
Tim,
discussion.
if Tim's not there one day, I'm quite likely to ask John if he'd allow me to join him for the exact same reason. You know, teach me Obi-Wan. Mr. Miyagi, I'm sorry, I used it wrong. Okay, any other new business? All right, cool. We reached the fun part then. Show and tell. Don't have as many offerings as last month.
Greg?
Yep.
The arrow seems to indicate that there might be somebody else there. Is there anyone else there that we're not seeing?
Yeah, all right, switch that from here. So that's who we've got. We've got John, I don't know which John. John Cork's usually the one, but he's here.
John Bradley.
Probably. Hey, John. Stuart, Joseph, Joe, Tom. Not as many guests as in the past. Haven't seen Gene Andes the last couple of months. He told me last month he wasn't gonna be able to make it due to some conflict, but. So we did this Zoom thing largely for, I'm sorry, we're continuing the Zoom thing now that we're meeting in person, largely for people like Gene, who hasn't been in the last few meetings. Oh, well.
Well, something.
Yep, go ahead, please.
Okay, my first time here, literally. I've been up to the Mariners Museum a couple times. I came up and presented a book that a friend of mine, Alan Flanders, and I wrote about the Constitution. If there was something with the Mariners Museum itself that could say that the model club is going to be there on such and such a date, and you're working on rigging, you're working on planking or something along those lines. And what I'm looking at is attracting people who are just getting started that don't know about this model group, but see something, they got a kit, really nice kit, and they want to say, oh my God, where do I start? What do I do? And I see somebody is building a keel, or somebody is, let's say, planking or rigging or something. That's a draw. That's a way to pull somebody into the museum, somebody to pull into this organization that's just getting started.
So you're talking about on the museum's website? That's gonna be.
Somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works. I don't know the mechanic, like I say, I don't know about the politics or anything. But if we have some way, even if you put up a little sticker that says on Saturday, Joe is gonna be working on rigging. I'm starting, hey, I'm gonna be interested in that. So I'll be there. See you. So just like I say, the new guy, helping people just getting started and helping get people drawn into this organization.
So it might be a hard sell, but I will talk to the museum about whether or not we can have a page on their website. For sure we don't right now. And if so, if we can put information like that on there, I don't think they're gonna wanna update it, because that would be an added burden for them to update it with day by day what we're gonna be working on.
Even if you got a chalkboard that says that when somebody comes in to look at the models,
Oh, yeah.
again, that's gonna be, to me, that's gonna be a big help.
You mean just right there at the stand?
Even if
Yeah.
that's all we
Yeah.
do, something that's pretty more useful.
Okay.
Someone come back and say, you know what, next week they're gonna do this.
Yeah.
I wanna be here for that. I wanna see them doing it.
Okay, that's a good idea. Thank you.
Is there a link from the museum website to our website?
I think, but I'll have to double check on that.
A link to HRSMS?
Yeah,
There's not. That's what I was gonna suggest too, just put a link on the website.
and then I can put that information on our website.
Yeah.
But the physical presence you're talking about is also a good idea. Board. Shop. Good ideas. Yep.
Even if the museum won't put it at the entrance, you can actually put a marquee, a tripod up with an introduction of what's being done that day and upcoming stuff by the stand itself.
Yeah, I was thinking at the stand originally, but you're right, if it's at the entrance, then it gets
The
people
entrance
as
is
they-
better.
Yeah,
But you
Yep.
take what you can get.
yeah. Yeah, cool, good ideas.
That's
Okay.
a compliment to it.
Show and tell time. For the sake of the people online, if you'd be willing to move your model to the table here, I can get it. Whoever wants to go first. I don't see there's only two here right now. All right, this is Dave Chomo.
So that's it's a Sharpie schooner. It's from the
I'm sorry,
NRG.
Dave, just a second. If I turn this around, I can.
Oh, so Sharpie schooner from the NRG plans and practicum coming along. I'm doing the metal work for the mast and spars now. A little bit of a challenge because the plans and the practicum don't line up, and it might be that neither one's completely correct, but I have to spend some time over in the small craft area to figure out what's real.
Extremely clean work. Looks really nice. And is that yours, Butch?
Yes.
I requested some photos from you. I probably made it too difficult.
Well, time became a function,
Okay, sure.
but I
But-
haven't forgot it.
Okay, I still welcome them when you're able.
I don't like putting the club on back burner, but I've had to do that. for a
Hey, no,
while.
just when you can.
Okay.
Do you mind if I scoot it a little bit?
No, put it wherever you want. I'll make this real quick.
So,
Be a lot quicker than the model was built. My name is Butch Watkins. I'm a fairly new member and been COVID hit, and I got put in COVID jail like the rest of you. But it did give me an opportunity to do a few things that I've been wanting to do. And I've always wanted to do the FD Crockett. She's a Chesapeake Bay bob boat built in 1924 by Alex Smith and John Gaines. I believe, I want to say they were in Deltasville, but I can't remember.
It's in Delta.
Deltasville, yeah. And anyway, what really caught my attention with this boat is that some years ago in my creek, this boat, she was laid up there. I'll call it the die. She was tied to a gentleman's by the name of Dave Carpenter at his pier who developed the marina down in Potosi. And she was just laying there all to pieces. And I just got an affinity for it of thinking, what a shame to have such history laying there. And it's just going to lay on the bottom. And that's what's happened to a lot of these bob boats in the history of it. When I was a young boy, my dad had fish dock down at the end of the road. And there was two bob boats laying on the shore over there. You never think much about it when you're young. You used to go there crabbing, crawling through them. And I distinctly remember the ship's wheels still being in the old Potosi that was laying there. But now, as you get older, I guess we all look at ourselves with age, say, boy, We can say the age here, we're gonna move on, but, and that captures it, so that's what got me interested in it. And, there's, this model is a 3/8 scale. It's a completely scratch built with the exception of the chain. I haven't been ambitious enough to build a chain, but I like to do everything scratch built. I don't like to put any commercial items on. So when I got building this boat, and I started doing the research and getting some history on it, good gracious, it was unbelievable how much these things change over a period of time. From 1924 till today, this is a completely different boat in many respects, but the lines are still there. The boat today has been completely rebuilt by John England and some staff over in Deltasville, and they've done a superb job. I didn't find that out until I was almost finished this boat. And John England got in touch with me and started making some comments because I was putting ideas there and saying, is anything wrong with this? Am I doing the features on this boat wrong? And gosh, I started getting a lot of Dave Crockett from Yorktown, through John and 2 or 3 others were kind enough to respond back and say, well, you might want to look at doing this, you might want to put this on. And so the model evolved. And so this is not a particular time frame other than it was in the earlier days, but it's a hybrid of all these things that were on the boat at one time or another. So that's my story of how this boat developed. And
What were these boats by? Crabs?
oh, they use them for a number of things. They from carrying watermelons up to cantaloupes up to Baltimore to being a bar boat for oysters,
Is
fish.
a typical situation for a boat. If you're a dredger or a tonger or whatever, you're out, you fill up your boat, it's only 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You have to come back in, unload and go out again, the buy boat will meet you. And they'll buy your catch for, let's say, 80 cents on the dollar or whatever. And now you can stay out for another half a day. So the buy boats had huge capacities, primarily for, as you said, shellfish, clams, oysters, etc.
Exactly. These boats used to, I can distinctly remember as just a little fellow when I go out with my dad, the bar boats laying out there. Ballards, oyster ground out in off of Plumtree Island. My father-in-law used to watch the clam grounds out there, Ballard, the oyster grounds. And his boat would lay there and they would clam, crab, whatever, and eventually come into the boat and unload. And these are pretty big boats. This was 64 feet. They've had an even larger, much larger. They carried lumber. I remember some of the older people that I used to know who've moved on. They've carried the lumber up to Baltimore or brought lumber back. You know, we had a lot of lumber in Pocosin.
So they weren't just buying stuff, they were
Whatever the commodity that was needed, I think they probably.
Is this a log construction?
This was a log construction. I think it was. My memory fails me now. It's been a while since I researched this, but it's a log boat. It's a
7 logs.
Yeah,
One of the few.
Yeah. How many was it? Was it 5 logs?
7 logs.
7 logs.
And if you go down in the engine room, they're just rough hewn logs on the inside. Yeah, I did the restoration of that model for Deltaville after they burned.
Yeah.
And worked with John England on the
about that. Yes.
The barrel on the stern, I told it was on the original model. And I told John, why that barrel? The barrel's not on the boat. What would we doing? And he said, it's gotta stay there while it's good. He said, it saved someone's life. They were being washed over the side, across the rail, and grabbed that barrel or rope this whole barrel, and it saved their life. So John said, whether it's there or not, you gotta put it on the model.
That's what's so nice, neat about these histories and talking to.
Yeah.
As you talk to different people, I talked to 3 or 4 captains. My father-in-law, he captained this boat for a while. And Dave Crockett in Yorktown. He captained it for a long time. And there's so many different stories. It's so interesting just to listen, and you can make a career just out of documentation.
Absolutely. Spend a lot of time in Deltaville, you get a lot of stories.
Yes, you do.
The boat's named after Mr. Old Man Crockett's wife. I think her name was Fiona or something like that. And you can go on it today. The Deltaville Museum will take you out down the creek.
Yeah.
So at some point it was used as an oyster dredge.
Yes, that's what's got a double oyster.
Yeah. that's
Oyster
what I-
rig on it. It's got one, put them over each side.
Okay.
It would be, I'll tell you one interesting thing, then I'll stop because I could talk about it all day, but there's one feature in this boat that most of these captains use this like the back of their hand. And John England, who rebuilt this boat, and again, I can't say enough of a superb job he and his crew did. When he saw this, he critiqued it pretty good, and I asked him to. I said, any of you captains or whatever, I said, I would really appreciate you. I'd like to get it right. You know, because this, like I said, this is like, it's history. It'll be here somewhere, hopefully, years from now. And he looked at the boat, he said, I think you've captured just about everything. He said, but you got to, I think he called it the stovepipe or whatever it was there in the center. He said, you got that crooked. And I said, well, John, I don't think it does. He said, you probably just glued it on crooked or something like that. I went back to the old photographs I had, and that pipe was candid, just the way it is right there. So I went back over to Deltaville a few weeks later, and John was in the boat shed, and I carried the boat with me. And I said, John, I got something to show you. And I took that photograph out with the boat, and I said, I think I got it right. Might not be the right angle, but it's pretty close. He said, I never knew that. I learned something else. And some of you might, my question was, and some of you might know, is why it was candid. I haven't been able to get that answer.
Could have been that it just shifted sometime.
Well, I don't think I
And they
thought.
never fixed it.
Could have been. So,
May I ask a question?
if you'd like to look at here's a book here, but I just kind of, when I build a model and put this much effort in it, I usually take pictures of it and what I do and how I do it. You're welcome to look at that and see how.
Was there a comment online?
Yeah, could I ask, what were the reference drawings for this?
Reference drawings.
I had the basic drawings of this boat. They were developed by a gentleman by the name of Ray Rogers from Urbana. And that gave me some of the basic lines on it. He's captured that on a few of these more prominent boats that were older and well known. But usually with most of these things, is if I find a boat that I want to build now, even with the Chesapeake Bay bid rod, I do a number of those. The one you were talking about, Greg, the Catherine Charlotte in Urbana, I go down to the boat and just have to do it myself. Have to develop all the lines from it. It's not extremely accurate unless you can get it up on the railway. But there's very little drawings on these boats. But if you're looking for one of Ray Rogers in Urbana, he could probably help you out. Okay,
Thank you.
questions?
It's nice, man.
I'm gonna give everyone else one more view of it, from a different angle.
Are you gonna put pictures of this on the website?
Yes, I will take a couple snaps today, and hopefully Butch can give me some more detailed shots later. It's hard with the case on. Maybe he'd be able to do it with the case off at home.
Mhm. My photographs don't do justice. I'm not a very good photographer.
I'm more than willing to stop by your house someday with a camera and tripod and all that to take some
That would
pictures.
be
if you'd like.
fantastic.
I bet Tim would do a better job. I'm not gonna volunteer him. But there he sits. He's the professional.
Yes, sir.
Okay, how about online? Does anyone online have something they want to show?
Get a question, Greg.
Oh, yeah.
On the case.
They asked me about the case,
Sure.
should I make the plexiglass case? The answer is yes. That's a 90,000 plexiglass and it's brewed with, I'll call it plexiglass glue.
Yeah.
It's comes in a can-like border. But you can cut it with a table saw and just cut it a little low the size, get it right to fit on the stand is the important part. And then write the edges with a trim bit like you would on Formica, and then work it down from there. You can polish it. It's an art in itself, doing plexiglass.
You did a professional job on that. You did a professional job on that.
If you don't give it one chance, unless you do a lot of buffing and sanding and buffing, you go up to 600 grit.
Okay, let's see, switch to gallery view so I can see better.
I actually have one.
Oh, you do, good. Oh, sorry. All right, you guys online have to wait. Everyone else is done. You want, that save the best for last, is that what you're claiming?
Oh, no. Far from best.
Not much, right? All right, good morning. My name is Mitchell Woods. I am a research intern here at the museum. I started researching back in April to hopefully expand the Age of Exploration Gallery by 2023. I was in the Army Reserves in Georgia where I went to school. Now I'm on active duty and I'm getting ready to go to my first duty station at Fort Campbell, Kentucky with the 101st. And I'm an artillery officer, so I'm getting ready to go to the Field Artillery School in Oklahoma in October. But for now, pretty much the Army has no use for me. They don't have a reserve unit for me and they don't have an active duty unit for me yet. So for 5 months, I'm a free man for now, which is a good feeling being out of school. So I've been doing some model ship making for a couple of years, and I've been looking to get a little bit better and try to implement some better techniques. So I brought in one of my models, which is just a little 1/700 British destroyer by Tamiya to waterline kit. And I've been looking to actually add some weathering to it. I purposely left off the lifeguard, the lifeboat davits and boats so that I can make some room on the deck and probably work around that. So I brought it in because I wanted to see if you gentlemen had some tips and techniques for weathering to start off to try to make it look a little more professional. So I'll be here today, and if any of y'all have any tips, I'd be glad to hear them.
I'll be talking about that in just a moment.
What was that?
I'll be talking.
Oh,
about that
awesome,
just-
perfect. Well,
just
that's
then.
perfect to take some notes on. And yeah, I was actually invited to come visit. So I was at the last meeting last month. And it's been a real pleasure working here at the museum, and I hope to keep coming to the meetings and seeing all these different wonderful creations. They're pretty awesome. So that's what I got. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
One more month, and you might become the youngest member ever.
Yeah.
Okay, yep. Oh, right. Okay, were you willing to bring it up? Which, can we move yours so that's not in the
Don't
background?
look very much like a ship.
Let me get enough paper.
I can.
You got it?
Yeah.
But I bet it floats.
Okay. Well, during the pandemic, I'm sure most of you guys had time to work on the model. Excuse me. I moved house. I've downsized. And I didn't have any time for anything, but my daughter and son-in-law thought I would have time for a little wooden model here. I thanked them very much and told them never to do it again. It actually consisted of a whole bunch of parts. Can you see that on the
Yep.
screen?
Yeah.
It actually moves, and it was one hell of a job to put together. It was supposed to be for experts. So I decided I'm not going to be an expert on this sort of stuff anymore. I know it's not a ship.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. well,
It'll still float.
You're a member.
That's all I have to say about it. Thank you.
Oh, I should have said what it is.
Stevenson's.
It's Stevenson's rocket.
Doesn't look like a rocket either. Or a ship.
Depends on which way it's going.
Okay, you willing to bring it up? Yeah.
This is a rattlesnake and it bit me many a time. I'm new at this stuff, but I remember you coming to me and telling me just to look at the pictures and put it together. And I did what I thought I did. I took these three, tore them apart 3 times to get everything straight. And I'm just learning. I haven't been in this stuff very much. I do love doing the lines and stuff. And it was good today because I was told some of these things that I'm not doing right. And that's good for me because when you read the instructions for this field, it's an Italian ship. And it's an Italian, French, and here's English. And so trying to get it all straight, it was kind of rough, but I had fun. And today I got good feedback, so I know what I'm, at least some of the things I'm doing wrong. And I'll get it straight. So that's all I have.
Just
Very nice. Very impressive.
I thought it wanted to use for the size.
Whatever came.
Willing to
to
share
get.
your pictures?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Willing to share your pictures?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And my problem is that I'm still learning how to plank. And of course, I did stuff wrong back into here, but I'm learning, trying to learn. I've got some instructions, so maybe I can get it better next time.
Pat, don't ever point out the mistakes.
And burn
Well-
the plans. That's fine.
My wife tells me that's Julia Child's quote, never apologize.
Well, that's the only way I can learn. You know, if somebody points, I don't care. That, I found out that shouldn't have been at all in black, should have been back here. But it's fun.
99 people out of 100 won't know what your mistakes are, so.
Don't help them out.
At least I got good information. Just look at the picture. It took me a long time.
Yeah.
Good job, Pat.
Careful.
Got something there?
Yeah, you want to go to the pictures. Okay, while the pictures are getting set up, I debated on the DE project of mine, whether I was going to build a model and keep it pristine or whether I wanted to weather it. And the decision was kind of made for me because with a build that goes over a span of several years and you have to paint and build at the same time, there's no way to keep the first project, the first year's work clean while you're repainting and moving on with the project. So I decided I was going to cover all my errors with weathering and crew and ropes and what have you. I just started. You got the first photograph?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trying to, I need to go to this computer, I think, to get the.
So having the
Out of the
decision
way.
made to weather the boat, how I was going to do it, there's many techniques. There's washing, there's airbrushing, all requiring talent, which I've yet to master. But I did decide then to go with pastels chalks, and powders. It's easy to work with. It's, you can blend them. You can create washes with them if you want. And if you make a mistake, you can just simply wash it off and do it again. The powders are a little more tenacious. They kind of tend to blend into the grain of the paint, if you will. What I've used, as you see on the table, you can go to the next slide, are a combination of artist pastels, which are there, which can be brushed and ground up into a powder, mixed with waters to make pastes and different consistency of washes if you want. You can go to the next. And the other one I found was one called Doc O'Brien's weathering powders, right from Micromark. I can pass the box around, and these are powders that work very well. You can dip them with a dry brush and just streak them on, blend them, and they're very easy to work with. And like I said, also you can mix it with a little bit of water, make a paste. You can make any consistency you want with them. Next. And there's a kind of a close-up. They come in little jars, and they can make quite a mess. So you have to kind of clean and work with as you go. I mean, it gets all over your fingers and you touch stuff, and so you have to kind of work with them. Anyone who's worked with these powders will know. Next. So here's a shot of the bow area, and you can see I've concentrated on the chain area where the rust would accumulate. You can blend them, and as anyone knows about rust, rust comes in any number of colors and shades, anywhere from a dark brown, almost a black, to a light, almost a yellowish color. So you have to kind of mix and match and imagine you have to be the rust, if you will. Imagine what it looks like. Take inspiration of pictures from actual vessels. And surprisingly, a lot of the pictures that I found online of current Navy pictures show ships that were shamefully rusty, much more so than I wanted to depict on a vessel that was in the war for a year and a half or more. But it gave me inspiration as to where to look, where rust would be, typically in little crevices where water collects, seams, rivets, or welding lines that people walk over, raised areas. So where's the button there? Oh, okay. Where's the? You had it. Oh, you had it set up already. Okay, there you go.
Let me see a page down.
Page up, page down. Okay. Anyways, here's a kind of an example. There's a catch on the door which might attract some water. It might have some staining. So you have to kind of imagine where the dirt, where the high traffic areas are, and just kind of work with it. Nice thing about working with these powders is that you don't have to really worry about being over zealous with the powders, because what looks over ambitious in some areas, once you apply a clear coat over it, typically like dull coat or any other of the dulling agents, it tends to subdue the effect a little bit. So if you thought you overdid it, well, wait until you overcoat it, and then you can see exactly how the effect bears out. And that's just another view of just some staining and where you might expect to see. Here's probably a high use area, buzzers dragging around people, chains, things. So you have spots of rust, and then the wash off from the spots, and as it kind of collects in spots. An expansion joint. Typically would have some rust underneath where the plates grind against each other slightly. So you'd have some washing of rust coming out from there. A little rust spot there. Just kind of pick and choose, just kind of go around and randomly pick out spots. It's not atypical for just a spot to show up anywhere on the bulkhead. Here along a weld line, you might have some failure of paint and the corresponding staining that occurs from washing down. The big thing about weathering is kind of be subtle. I kind of maybe overdid it a little bit on this one, but less is more in many cases. And here's an overall view of the water line and the anchor. Imagine the anchor going up, banging up against the hull. You'd have paint chips and so forth, and that's where you might find spots. So grains, scuttles, things like that always collect dirt and washes. There's a view of the bow, staining, and the water line. I wasn't exactly sure how to approach the water line underneath. I decided to kind of leave it less than more, because typically a boat in dry dock, you see it's very pale, very grayish looking. Well, that's because it's dried out, and it appears that way once it's dry. But if it's in the water, it's not going to have its gray an appearance. Probably more greenish, algae, and brighter looking. So I just pretty much just concentrated right on the water line, the salt line, and a little bit of the green. There's a scrape where the anchor went up against the hull. So you have to kind of just imagine where the rust would come from, why the rust is there, what created it, and just kind of work from the outside. Typically what I'll do is I'll put a dark spot where I want it, then maybe a lighter, maybe a couple shades of little flecks of lighter colors of powder, and then take your dry brush and just drag it down, and you may have multiple views of drag marks there, and then go back over the spot where it was, and then reapply the contrasting dark with the light to highlight where the spot originated from, leaving the staining. And of course, around the, let me see, there was another picture back in here. Probably hard to see, but the numbering, the lettering on the hull, the paint fading, that's going to create a little bit of a wash, a white wash that's dragged down where as the paint fades and contrasts against the black. It can be pronounced. It can be very subtle, depending on how long the paint's been in the sun, I guess. Let me see, where was I? All right, then I moved on to some piping, some steam piping. I created those out of plastic tubing, heat forming them to conform to the shapes, and these will eventually be mounted up against the back of the stack. Here they are ready for installation with some photo etching, bounce and brackets, and the, what do you call them there? The flanges there, that's the word. My brain went to sleep. And here they are installed, waiting for some weathering. With a project like this, I had to kind of paint, weather, and construct as I go along. So, and touching up along the way, which when you decide to weather a boat is very easy. Because you screw something up, well, there's another rust spot. And here we are with the piping up against the stack and some staining of leaks and so forth. And that is pretty much where we are today. with a typical workbench arrangement, and it's ready to be cleaned up so I can find something again. It's like everybody, I'm sure, you just we have to work in cycles. You work till you can't find anything, and then you clean everything up, and then you just screw it up again. So that's the weathering on the boat, and I tried to keep it fairly subtle, but wanted to show and hide as I went along.
Would you mind going back to one of the first slides where it showed all of the powders basically on your workbench and how you had them set up?
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
gonna be a bit more difficult at your 1 to 700 scale, but.
Yeah.
Well, I use a finer brush.
Yeah.
I use, yeah. All right, here we go. Okay, which photo were you interested in particular?
The one, actually it was this one. So that little palette up on the left, are those the powders that mixed in water?
Yeah, that's just a little artist palette you can buy anywhere.
Yeah.
And I just put a few drops of water in there. And with these particular powders, not powders, but the chalks, I use those primarily with a dry brush to create the staining effects.
Right.
The drag marks and so forth like that. You just rub it on the dry brush and just streak it and blend as you go. The next one, the powders, you can use these more efficiently by mixing them with a little bit of water, because then you can make with a fine brush, hairbrush, you can make tiny little rivets of streaking.
Yeah.
And
are these the micro mark ones?
Yeah, the Doc O'Brien's box of powders. And they're very easy to work with. I tried airbrushing. I just can't get it fine enough. Airbrushing is tough.
Yeah.
And it takes a skill which I haven't mastered. But washing, these work well, in a washing kind of a technique, and as opposed to using paint. And like I said earlier, I like using these because it's reversible. If you really screwed it up, you can just get a cotton swab or something and just wipe it off, wash it off, and you're not left with much of a residue at all. If you use paint, something like that, you're kind of committed once you've worked it into the surface.
How much did that box set cost?
Oh, offhand, I don't remember. It's not that much.
Okay.
And it comes with a lifetime supply of powders, pretty much.
Pretty much a one-time buy.
If you're not stupid with it, or tip them over.
Jane, the rust was very realistic because I was on the shore for 5 years, and there was no time that we did not have rust somewhere, even in Port, painting and chipping all the time. And after being at sea for just a couple of weeks, the rust would be everywhere.
Yeah, and another thing that I like about this rust, I mean, not the rust, the powders, is that if you can create texture with it also. If you have a bit of water to it and you dab it into it, and you can just kind of dab it onto the model, and not only will it create a stain, but it will also, if you build it up dry, you can create like a rust texture, if you will, maybe in deep corners or something where it, the rust has erupted out and it's created, havoc with the paint and the metal. Not so much at this scale, probably larger scales that could be more effective. But that's pretty much me and the rust. And
I'm looking at it, you can apply that to vehicles even. Like
oh yeah,
tanks and
to
trucks.
everything.
Yeah.
These powders, I dare say, would work well even on wooden ships. Wooden ships have a lot of iron, a lot of nails that may be exposed slightly, a little bit of staining around it, and maybe a slight little streak down the hull wouldn't be out of place.
And then other than red, you can use it just for, the junk that washes off the deck.
Oh, absolutely. This set has all different hues. It has anywhere from blacks to browns to grays to greens. So I like working with it, and I think anyone who wants to do any kind of weathering would do well to look into a box like this. And that's my story. Yeah, right here. Okay, that's it.
Anybody remember who built the Matunga of us?
I'm pulling that model up right now.
Oh,
He weathered that model.
That was a nice
Well, what a fantastic job. I've never been brave enough to do it, but I'd sure like to learn.
he was pretty good.
He built a number of models.
So there's another example of weathering. This is the model that they were talking about.
Happy with it himself.
I'm sure he was.
I asked him one time when he said it came out for much.
It comes up.
There it is.
So. So just the grime that accumulates at the bottom of, in between the cracks there, things like that, So those powders that Gene was showing work well from that, rust off the nails, or certainly where there's any discharges.
Whose boat is that?
That Jack Bobbitt's.
Oh, Bobbitt's, yeah.
Okay, anyone else in the room? Yes. Yeah, I always rely on you. How about online? Does anyone like to present something that's joining us online? Not Joe or Mort? Nope, okay, Tom's asleep. I can see his eyes closed. Hello, Tom. Okay, well, that's the end of show and tell then. I forgot to stop and start the recording, so business and show and tell is gonna be one. Don't want to end it, no, just stop recording.